Hi, I'm Emmy. I have a YouTube channel that I do music on, and I also gig my own music at the moment. I have been doing it since I was 15, which is too many years. Yeah, that's about it.
I just don't know how to put out this flame.
Do you want to talk about how you first started in the music industry?
I think, yeah, it was when I was 15, and I remember I was just like, I used to just play guitar in my room, like, just for fun, and I was like, I could just put this on the internet, and at the time, I was like, heavy standing 5 Seconds of Summer, little teen, and I was like, if I post this, and I can get to them to see it, because we were going to try and meet them, I was like, I can be like, I covered your song, listen to this, and then they'll know who I am. That was the logic behind it. So I posted that on just a random whim, and then it just kind of randomly picked up views. I remember it getting to like 1,000 views, and I was like, that's mental, that's so many, like more than 1,000, crazy. So I just kind of like kept at it after that, because I was like, well, at least some people like what I'm doing. And then it just kind of slowly grew from there. And then I started posting like covers of like Bring Me the Horizon, and I did some other like 5 Seconds of Summer ones, and they just randomly like really took off. Like I didn't really do anything to promote them other than like tweet them and like post on my social media. And I didn't particularly have a following on any of them, but for some reason they just gained mad views and it all just happened really fast. That was between like 15 and 16. And I started getting like emails from like management companies, like I got one from Wonder Management, who were the first managers of 5 Seconds of Summer, like Sony Music and stuff. But because I was 16, I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do with management companies, like I am a child. And I was doing my GCSEs and I was just like, I can't deal with this. So I'm just not going to reply to these really big opportunities because I don't know what to do. Which in hindsight was a terrible plan because I could have been doing something, but now I'm not. So I just kind of kept posting after that. Because of that, I got an offer from a band who were based in like St Helens and Wigan, and I was in Liverpool, so it wasn't too far. And they needed a vocalist, and they'd seen my channel, so then I joined with them. And I was still posting, but I was also sort of like recording with them and gigging. Like we didn't actually publish that. I think we only like recorded one song and like did a video and stuff for that. We had other stuff written, but it just never ended up getting put anywhere. And that was when I was in sixth form and when I was dropped out of sixth form, so I had loads of free time to just kind of put into that sort of thing, and it was always just for fun. And then once I went to college, it kind of just sort of like died down because I was like, wanted to focus more on actually getting my A levels and going to uni and stuff. And then, so I just kind of now and again posted more like casually if and when I wanted to. And then recently, within the last year or so, I've started actually writing and gigging my own music. It was just a case of like, I actually had the motivation to do it. I just kind of write songs when I have feelings I want to get out. So I went through a breakup and I was like, perfect time to start writing songs because I've got a lot of emotions, and instead of posting them on Twitter, I'll write a song. And then from there, I just kind of picked up gigs with like local bands and stuff, just in like venues around Leeds.
So obviously you got quite a big following when you were quite young. Do you feel like that had any impact on your well-being?
I think looking back now, at the time I didn't really realise it, but I think it definitely did. And I think that's why I kind of stopped uploading when I did get a bit older. Because being like 15 and 16 on the internet and being a girl who's doing like alternative covers, you get a load of like shitty middle-aged men who are like, this isn't metal, like, because they were all acoustic covers. And then obviously everyone can just comment on like your appearance, like what you're posting and everything. And at the time I was like, this is so funny, like obviously trying to laugh it off. But when I look back, I do think it did kind of like take its toll, having sort of everything about you at that age out there on the internet. And then I think it kind of put me in the position now where I'm kind of more conscious about what I post, because it's like, at that age, I just didn't realise the repercussions of putting everything about my life on the internet, and people then being able to be like, well, you've said this and you've said that, whatever. So now I try and like keep it more to myself, or like obviously like my family and friends, because it does end up weighing on you a bit, having so many people being able to just obviously there's nice people, but people will just rip into you for whatever they can, just because they can.
It's because they think it's very disposable, don't they? I don't know whether you've watched it, but Jessie from Little Mix has just brought out like
I've seen a clip from it.
Yeah, she's just brought out a programme on BBC One, I think, about like how much she got trolled over the years and like, how it really affected her. And I think it's good that people are coming forward now and are saying that it might be a disposable comment where like they don't even think about that.
Yeah, especially because it's behind a screen. Like they obviously aren't going to come up to me if they see me in public and be like, "You shit." Like no one's going to actually do that, but they can do it behind the screen. And that's like a child. I was a child. I was 15. Like sensitive, little anxious mess.
So I know you've done a Talk About It Tuesday for us already, but do you just want to do like a little brief outline of your mental health history?
Yeah, I've been in and out of counselling since I think I was 12 or 13. Like it was when I started when I was in year 8 and I was diagnosed with like anxiety and depression at that age. And then I kind of, rather than being anxious, it kind of went into me being like really obnoxiously loud as like a defence mechanism, like in high school and stuff. And I was always sort of dealing with it. I like kept it to myself or my friends. When I got into sixth form, that's when it kind of like all came to like its head. Like I'd always had problems with eating, like, and body image. I think with me being like 5'10" and all my mates were like 5'2" and dead petite, even though I'm not big, in my head I was like, I'm massive, like so big compared to all my friends, so I was always concerned about that. And then when I was in sixth form, I went through like a really shitty relationship and we broke up sort of like March time, and I didn't really realise how bad it had been till it was over. And then I was like, right, I can't be in education, like I can't focus on it because I need to deal with this. And it was at that point I got diagnosed with bulimia and I was in outpatient. And so at that point I kind of like dropped off the radar on the internet. I didn't really want to post anything, I was trying to deal with myself. And then about a year or so after that I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder as well, which was like a result of what I'd been through on top of already having depression. And then since then I've been like in and out of therapy. I'm on sertraline and propranolol for like anxiety and depression, and I still go to therapy like on and off at the moment.
So have you always been someone who is pro therapy?
I've always been like, I think it's really good, but it's a case of finding what works for you. Like a lot of the time when I was younger, they just gave me CBT because that was like the go-to, you know, it can work for depression, anxiety and loads of different things. But I never found it really worked for me. When I was younger, I had to have a parent in the room with me, so I would just lie because I was like, I don't want my dad to hear this, like, because I didn't want to upset them. So I was like, if I just don't say it, then they'll discharge me and I don't have to do this anymore. So I'd kind of just go through the course of the therapy, sort of half-arse it until it was done, but then I wouldn't actually get the benefit out of it. But then I did DBT for my borderline, and that was the one that like I felt actually worked for me because it was more about the coping mechanisms that would work, like sort of like meditation and stuff, and not being like, well, if you feel like this, you shouldn't, you should feel like this. It was like, you feel like this, that's okay, here's things you can do to like help you deal with that.
So as we said before, you've done a Talk About It Tuesday. Do you want to just talk about your experience as doing the Talk About It Tuesday? Because obviously we want more people to get on board and talk about their emotions and their mental health when they're ready to do it.
Yeah, I think it is really important to talk openly about it. Like with my friends and my family, I've always been really open about like any issues I'm having, and I've been really fortunate to have those people who are understanding about it as well. Like I know I can go to them. So I think I'm someone who is willing to be open about it, but I think it can benefit not only the person who's talking about it by having that space where they can say, this is what I've been through, and that's okay, like I'm still doing all these things, but also other people who might not be ready to talk about it can see other people who are, and then be like, oh, maybe it is alright to feel this way, it's not some big stigma, like normal people go through it, and that's normal in a way. Like,
how was your feedback on it?
It was really good. Like it got loads of feedback obviously on the page and stuff, and then I had even like customers and work who like know me but don't really know me, like coming up to me and being like, oh, I read your thing, you know, it was really good, like, you're really brave for talking about it, because I don't really think about it, like, because I have been open about it, and they're like, are you okay, like, that was really brave, and I was just like, yeah, it sounds, but, like, I don't realise that to some people, you know, that is such a big thing, because they've never been in the position where they can be open about it. So it was really good feedback. Everyone that I know who's read it has been like, oh, I like really enjoyed reading it. It was really good. So
that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, and my mum liked the page. She was like, I follow the page now.
In that post, you talk about your protective factors and your risk factors. Do you just want to go through your protective factors?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is having a good support system around me. Like, I lean on my parents quite a lot, even though I live away from them, because they've both struggled with mental health in the past, so they know about it and are the type of people who I can turn to. And a lot of my friends have struggled or do struggle as well, so I know that they'll understand if I need someone to talk to. And with medication as well, I pretty much got told when I was 17 I'm going to be on medication for the rest of my life, more than likely. And at the time I was like, this is the worst thing I could ever be told, like, I'm never going to be well. As I've got older and experienced like different medications and seen how they can actually help me just function, it's not a terrible thing at all. Like, it's like taking a vitamin in a way. Like, you just take it in the morning and then I can actually live my life normally, instead of not wanting to take them because the stigma around it, and just lay in my bed for days on end and not do anything. Definitely think like alcohol is a big one, because I don't know my limits, and even if I do, I just ignore them, because at the time I'm like, this is boss, I'm having a great time with my mates, like, it's going so well. But then as it gets to the end of the night, I get sad, because I'm like, oh god, the night's going to end, and then I'm not going to feel like this anymore. And then I wake up the next day hungover, feeling really low. And with having borderline, it is like your emotions are really intense, especially with like personal relationships, even like friendships, not just romantic ones. And you do basically have really bad abandonment issues. So I kind of have to constantly remind myself that not everything is like a catastrophe. Like, if I argue with someone, they're not going to hate me forever.
Yeah.
But it can be like hard to remember that, and so I have to sort of like be careful with like those type of relationships and not put myself in vulnerable situations, because it's just going to, in the long run, ruin my mental health over again and start from square one.
I think that's really good though, that you can kind of identify those risk factors, because I think especially with alcohol, a lot of people will drink and then feel really, really crappy the next day and be like, I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it takes a while to kind of put the two together.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think it's the same with relationships, if that's a risk factor that's for you.
Yeah.
In the music industry, in your experience, how has it affected your well-being and mental health?
I think because like the majority of my interaction up until the last year was online, in terms of like the actual music industry, it was like fine. Like, I'd like have bands like tweet my covers, or like people reach out to me, so it was all just like positive interactions. And then more so now, the bands that I've like played with and the venues and stuff, they've all been like really welcoming, which is really nice. You know, anyone who speaks to me about it has been really supportive. And I use kind of like writing music and performing music as like an emotional outlet. So when I like feel low, if I can put that to a song, then that's me getting it out rather than taking it out on myself in a way. So I definitely think it has helped, but at the same time I know, not just from like personal experience but other people, it is like a taxing industry. Like, it's tiring. Some people are like horrible, like just want to get what they can out of you. So I think I do have like a guard up in a sense when it comes to music, just so that type of thing doesn't happen to me.
Do you feel like there's enough emotional support in the music industry?
I don't think so, like not at all. Like, I think other people in the music industry, like if you're friends with them, that's the type of support you can get. But in terms of like people talking about it, I don't think it's talked about enough. You're just kind of expected to get on with it, like especially like touring bands, they can tour for like months on end and they're just expected to, because that's their job, and no one really takes into account how like draining that can be. Like, you're away from everyone you're close with, like you're constantly moving, you can't really look after yourself, and there's not really anyone who talks about it. I think more so recently a few people have touched on it, but up until then it just wasn't really talked about.
I think it is something that's so important for us to actually touch on, because I think a lot of people have the view of, especially with bigger bands and pop stars and stuff like that, well, they get paid so much money, but at the end of the day, they can't live a real life. Half of them can't step outside their house without getting recognised. They can't just go to the shop for a pint of milk with no makeup on. Do you know what I mean? Feeling rubbish. And I think it's something that has just kind of been swept under the rug for a while, but obviously I want to touch on it more. If you could talk to a younger version of yourself and talk about what you've learned mental health wise and well-being wise and just about yourself, what would you tell them?
Stop beating yourself up about everything. Like, not everything is your fault, and it's okay to like have these issues. Like, it's not something to be ashamed of. Like, you can reach out and get help, and if it's not working for you, try something else.
If you could improve the music industry, what would you do?
Definitely like have people be more open. Like, I think people don't understand how physically taxing it can be when your mental health's bad. Like, it does just take a toll on every aspect of your life, and I think people do need to be more conscious of that. Like, when bands like cancel shows or tours because of something in their personal life, a lot of people are obviously understanding, but you get people who are just so mad at them for putting themselves first, and I think it needs to be more talked about so that doesn't happen, and people realise that these are just real people with real lives and not just albums that you listen to. Like, they have other things to do than just perform every night of their lives.
Yeah, and I think it's all about that balance, and obviously a lot of people don't appreciate the fact that people are trying to get that balance right, and sometimes when it's off they have to put themselves first to get that balance back. What are your future plans in terms of music?
I want to like continue gigging. I'd like to record an EP at some point whenever I get the time and the money, because obviously it is expensive, but even just like playing shows for now, I do enjoy it, like especially because it's more casual. There isn't so much pressure on it. Like, I can do a gig like every month or so and just do it because I enjoy it. But I'd like to hopefully try and release some music so there is more like a physical copy of it, so people who don't live in Leeds can listen to it, and like get more present online with my music, because I did step away from it for so long. Like, I haven't posted on YouTube in like over a year, and I'd like to sort of get back to that, but in less of a pressurised sense. Like, I used to be like, got to upload once a week, it don't matter, it has to go up, and I'd put things up that I didn't even like, just because I was like, I need to upload once a week. I want to get back into it, but put more effort into it so it's actually content I'm happy with and that I want people to see and enjoy, rather than just for the sake of it.
What does the whole music industry, like music you listen to, everything like that, mean to you?
It definitely is like an emotional side of it. Like, most of the music I listen to, when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, that's like relatable. Like, even like happy songs, sad songs, there's always something in it that I'm like, oh, I've felt that. That's nice to hear that someone else has as well. So I think in a way it is like emotional support, but from a completely like distant standpoint. Like, it's a good way to know that like you aren't alone in the way you're feeling, because these people have like put it out there into music, and you can like go and see them live. Like, it's a good escape to go to a gig. Like, you don't have to do anything for 4 hours other than just listen to music you enjoy. I think that side of things is really good for your mental health.
If you could pick one song or album that's really helped you through difficult times, what would it be?
I think the big one is Love Is Not Enough by Casey. Like, whenever I've been like having a bad time, it's in some ways like counterproductive, because I'll just like lay in the dark and put it on and feel sorry for myself, but then afterwards I'm like, you know, it's good that there's that to relate to. You know, you can listen to that and just be in your feelings for a bit. Someone else has been there and been through it, and they've come out the other side, they're alright, so I will as well. And it's just a very like relatable album, so it makes you feel a bit more normal about having those feelings, because someone else has obviously felt it as well.
Anything else you want to add at the end?
Get some help if you need the help. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone, and you know, support yourself the way that you feel is best. If you need medication, therapy, talk to a friend, I think any of those are good options if it's what works for you.
And I think it's important as well to explore those options.
Yeah.
They might not work, but the next one might work for you.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it is important.